Hello from my childhood bedroom. And the funny thing is that my dad is the greatest fucking person ever, and I have two childhood bedrooms in this house. So the first one is on the second floor, and it's like pastel green and has a lot of gold and light pink, and was my lower to middle school room, like until I was 14. And then when I entered high school, I wanted a more mature room. So instead of redoing my room there, my dad was like, why not just give you the entire upstairs pool room area? It used to have like a billiards and pool table in here. And we just redid this and then kept that room down there as like a memorabilia of my real childhood. This is like my adolescent room. But I mean, as you can see, I have this like hanging chair and then my bed, and the walls are weird because I took almost all the posters to New York when I moved there, but the posters remaining were the ones that I like didn't want. And now all my actual like clothes are everywhere. And shout out to I have the best team ever. Like, they got me this Vetements hoodie. The floor is clean, so it's not there being thrown. It's placed there. And the bed is so fucking comfy. So, like, honestly, while I figure out my next New York place and moving, I'm so happy to be back. I'm like, give me the comfy bedroom bigger than any of my New York places will probably ever be until I make it fully. I don't know, or win a defamation lawsuit or something. I'm kidding. But I'm going to talk today about Saturn crossing the ascendant and Saturn moving through the first house in general. Let me see if I can actually fit check while I talk about Saturn, or before I talk about Saturn. This is my fit. So I have the Gucci shoes, these shorts, which are with the bangles, and not the bangle, the fucking chain. What am I talking about? Let's see if I can set this up so you can see my outfit. I'm in this bustier, which it's too big for me. Like, my rib cage is like there, but I mean, it looks good. And with the parts of 4 necklace and these shorts, this feels like a very mixture of 2016 versus like, I don't know, 1995 kind of. So it's literally just this and the parts of 4 necklace and then my Gucci shoes here. I'm really not picky. I'm going to see my friend, and I don't feel like I need to, I don't know, I just don't have, this whole outfit is actually pretty cute. God damn. Can we keep a video intro under like a minute next time, maybe, Maren? Thanks. So, I mean, yeah, this is it, basically. I guess it's kind of fitting because I don't know. I don't know what else I would wear. I just, so many clothes, selling so many of them because I don't want any of these clothes anymore. I want to feel new and revived and like I have valuable pieces. But I guess we will talk about Saturn crossing the ascendant, which I went through partially during this room, but most of it was when I was in New York. And Saturn is the cold-hearted bitch of the zodiac. Saturn represents restriction, structure, coldness, sobriety, seriousness. As someone myself that is very Saturnian, I respect the shit out of Saturn. I'm not someone that complains about Saturn. I think that people who say that I'm fear-mongering don't understand that I love this shit. I love when life gives me challenges and I can upgrade and grow through them. So I am a big Saturn fan. Saturn is my favorite planet, and she a bitch. And I do think Saturn is a little bit more feminine than masculine, but we can get into that argument or debate another time because I'm not like fully settled on it. But Saturn, cold-hearted bitch. Saturn transits tend to make you have to quickly get it together, be the rock, grow up, not be dependent on anyone else but your own discipline. So when Saturn enters your first house, which happens for everyone, unless you die before Saturn entering your first house will happen every around 27 to 30 years. So it happens like twice, sometimes 3 times in your life generally. It takes 2.5 to 3 years really to go through the whole first house, but it's only a few weeks that it will literally be on your ascendant. Now you can generally feel the responsibility, the sobriety, the demands and need to grow up and get it together happen as soon as Saturn enters your first house. But the most intense period of this will be when Saturn is literally on your ascendant. And if you have a very early degree rising sign, you will feel this very quickly, and then Saturn will kind of lay low but still be in your first house. If you have a very late degree rising sign, this will creep up on you and then happen at the end of that transit. So check the degree of your rising sign to know if this is going to be a sudden bang because you have an early rising sign, or a little bit more of a buildup. Now, during my experience, this was a pretty intense Saturn in the first house because I have a 19-degree Capricorn rising, meaning that it was not just Saturn. It was Saturn, Pluto, the South Node, every Jupiter was all on my ascendant. So it's actually taking some skill to dissect Saturn versus Jupiter and Pluto all there together. Like, I was 2019 to 2020 had the Capricorn Mafia pile up on my ascendant. So as soon as Saturn entered my first house, I was off at college at NYU, and this was 2017 to 2020. Literally the entirety of Saturn in my first house was my literal NYU 3 years of college. I graduated early because Saturn in my first house showed that I fucking got it together. I went from, actually, with Saturn in my first house, this is actually when I was a dying emo mess. I talked about with my Pluto in the first house video, me looking at my body when I was like in late high school and being like, this needs to change, getting really into fitness, walking all around New York. And then because I became so frail, I was like, perfect. Like, this is what people can now see what I feel like. It wasn't really that I was like, I then started to feel kind of weak, and then I changed it because I was like, if we're going to live, we need to feel better. So I got into weightlifting and like really bodybuilding type things. But Saturn in my first house was when this happens with a lot of people with Saturn in the first house. They will either overtly lose weight or just get frail and weak. This shouldn't worry you if you're not someone that at all has that possibility or tendency. But for me, as someone that if I just go overboard with cardio and don't supplement eating enough and weight training alongside that, I will quickly lose gains. I just know me, and I really have to keep it up. It happened this summer. I'm now back into things and really, really feeling better again. But like, if Saturn enters your first house and you already have like weight loss or frailty tendencies, then it could be a sign that might happen during that transit. Like I said, I don't mean to scare anyone. You know if that applies to you, and you know if it doesn't. So during that period, I became frailer. But then when Saturn approached my ascendant was when I kicked it into high gear and had a very dedicated weightlifting bodybuilding regimen that I'd say maybe I was in the best shape of my life early that period. Not that I'm not in great shape now, but because now I'm more willing to travel and stay up late and do things that grant me opportunities but maybe not are as supportive for like feeling the best at 6 a.m. the next morning. I'm usually on it, but like that was the best time because the structure that I had during Saturn in my first house was wake up at 5:30, teach a 6:30 hot yoga class, go to Soul Cycle, go weight train at the NYU gym, make it to your 9:30 lecture, have a 10:45 lecture, have a little break for lunch and meditation in the middle of the day at the NYU Meditation Center, have your 2:15 class, have your office hours until 6, go back, do your paper writing and your schoolwork, give an astrology reading, cook for the week, go to bed. Like, the insanity of scheduling that I had was amazing, and I didn't have it in an unhealthy way. I wanted the shit out of that schedule. I am now at a point where I prefer not to schedule super far out, and I'm much better on a short-term basis, which is not super Saturnian, but I'm still inherently Saturnian. So during that time, it was literally like I was tracking, I was on point with my macros, I was on point with my grades, I was on point with everything, and I killed it. And people were like, how are you doing this? And I was like, there's no other fucking option. And I still have that mindset now, but I allow for a little bit more flexibility in the sense that I see the reward when my rigidity comes from saying yes to what I know is an opportunity versus saying yes to routine, which during this time I needed the routine. This is honestly a little bit of a shorter video because so much of my life has been Saturnian that Saturn in my first house, I killed it. Now, the exact hit of Saturn on my ascendant around 19 degrees was basically late 2019, early 2020. So during that time was when I started making videos and more predictions around politics, what looked like horrendous loss of life and closing down early 2020, which I didn't have the words for a pandemic, but I kept saying like loss of life and looks like we're gonna have people like hiding. I joked around and said it was like the purge actually a couple times. So because of that, I found that work I put in during that time of building up that archive was the support that then I could blow up around. Because my videos came back, they started to be relevant, and that was the time of like do or die. Because if you cross-reference this with my Pluto video of Pluto crossing the ascendant, that was the period where it was like I'm either frail, weak, emo, dying mess going to kill myself, or I'm going to squeeze every last ounce out of who Maren is to try and see if there's anything worth salvaging. And I can say that there was, and during that time, writing a chapter in my book daily, meditating, teaching yoga. I mean, I would, at the end of the day, feel so high vibrational that, like, when I used to have stories or tweets about, like, I am so grateful for the structure of my life, I meant it. That was when I also started paying my own rent. I was in my apartment for 6 or 8 months where my dad did pay, my dad or brother, I'm not sure actually which one of them honestly paid my rent. For 6 or 8 months, they were paying the $2,000 a month. Now, this was before any of my life really took off, but it was during that period that I told them, I need to have the pressure on me to pay this so that I can feel independent. And they were like, okay. I definitely have the kind of lifestyle and family where, like, by no means are they super well off or, like, amazing, but unless I would have, like, I could have easily coasted. I could have definitely been the starving artist that just, like, lives here. Like, I took it upon myself to have that drive, and I think a lot of it comes from not really having a mother, and so it always feels like, no, I need to take care of me, I don't trust you to take care of me. Big theme in my life. But I can say that Saturn on my ascendant was the most structured, most intense, most serious, sober. I mean, the rigidity I had, like, it was amazing. But there was a reason why during my NYU experience, I spoke to no guys. I didn't have any nights out. I had one friend. I just edited out the friend I mentioned because you probably want to keep your privacy. But I made like one friend during that time at NYU. Everyone else I made friends with during my NYU period was not an NYU student. I was head down, worked. I loved school. I literally got a high out of school. Now, I'm Hermione Granger. I fucking love a general standard, like, I love the traditional education system. It works well to me. I wouldn't recommend it for everyone, especially if you're more creative, whatever. But I loved it. So I can say that period was the support system. That's when I built my archive. That archive supported me to build on top of things. So Saturn is boundaries and a structure. I mean, that was also when I was beyond straight edge. Like, I don't drink or smoke weed. I do, however, think that just about every other compound, don't come at me with like, what about meth? Like, okay, we get it, not every, but like just about every other compound is either a medicine or a poison depending on the person and the context. Like, for some people, MDMA is like incredibly healing and therapeutic when done in like a doctor setting. Other people, they're overdoing it, fucking with their serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, like it can just get bad. So that was a period when, I mean, I didn't even drink, like if caffeine was, I allowed myself 1 cup of coffee a day, and I love coffee, but like I wouldn't have an afternoon coffee. Like, the amount of sobriety and straight edge that I had was like insane, and I'm proud of it because it supported me. But now I don't really see a value in being like completely straight edge. Like, if I want to have a cool psychedelic experience, I don't feel like it goes against, like, that's totally different. But I'm very grateful for the structure, the routine, because no one else in my life depended on me. There was no need for me to grow up and take care of people, because the way I've set my life up is to where no one depends on me and I don't depend on anyone. And I'm very grateful for that. But during that time, I think that me paying for my own things, growing into like graduating from college and being like, it really is me, because I graduated May 2020. That was actually when Saturn entered Aquarius. So Saturn entered Aquarius March 2023, I believe February, March. But during that time was the support system that built me to where I am. I have nothing but amazing things to say about Saturn, like never gonna complain. But if you're someone who had a more out of nowhere Saturn experience, it could be the universe slapping you in the face because you're not Saturnian as a person. Like, you don't live a very rigid life of like, yes, rules, like, yes, macros. Like, I don't know, that stuff is amazing to me. I'm just like, yes, like routine, like, yeah, to this day. But now I see obviously the value in breaking that a little bit sometimes. And not as a cheat, like whatever. Like, no, it's like literally sometimes it's worth it to say, fuck the plan. I'm going to take this opportunity and go around the world in this, whatever. So if you're a night chart, Saturn is going to be more challenging. I have a daytime chart, so Saturn is not going to be as challenging for me. Mars is more challenging for me. Whenever Mars is activated, fuck shit up. But if you're a night chart, you might find it more challenging. It also depends on the condition of Saturn in your chart and if this is aspecting anything else. For me, this was aspecting a hell of a lot, but it was squaring my moon at first, and then it crossed my ascendant, and Saturn's not giving me a break for a while. Now it's going to enter Pisces, oppose my sun, like it's just going to, yeah, whatever. But like I said, this is a very sober, serious time. Saturn crossing the ascendant is definitely a time when you feel like you grow up and you're like emancipated sometimes. You're boundary ridden. So I hope that this helps explain, and if you look back to my videos during that time, I look very serious. I'm just like, which is how I felt, I guess. So, hope this is helpful. If you are any rising sign and you've had this happen to you, let me know how it was in the comments below. If you are an Aquarius rising that's going through it, let me know. And if you're a Pisces rising, you're next, hun. But don't be scared. Like I said, this is a super supportive time that I went through. So, hope this helps, and take care.